Have you heard the phrase, for he who has, more will be given, and for he who does not, even that which he has shall be taken? It's referring to gratitude. I believe that's from the Bible. And that the more that we appreciate, the more that state of consciousness adds unto itself. Your worth is not dependent on your external conditions, There is so much abundance that we can tune into. Like even the fact that you can't, with just your naked eye, can't count all the stars in the sky or the grains of sand on the beach. There is abundance everywhere. And savoring and having appreciation for what we have. A really simple way of doing that is through blessing our food as well. Like every time you sit down, I actually went through a training that one of the initial parts of that to becoming like proficient in your magical practice was to bless the food every single meal, because creating that link between you and something like eating every single day, we are given the abundance of this earth. And so what has started to happen in my own consciousness is that I've started to realize that I always have more than enough. And even as I'm expanding and I want more financial prosperity, it's like even when things are like close or tight, it's like I always have more than enough. I always have food, I always have shelter, I always have good water. So like anchoring in those blessings, counting your blessings and growing that energy of gratitude. Also, with these big shifts that are happening in our energy and in the collective consciousness, I've been finding that I've been needing to take a lot of rest because it's ebbs and flows, right? We can be so conditioned in thinking that it's all about achieving. It's all about achieving. But also, it's not. It's about the journey. It's about enjoying the journey and loving the journey. And that if you look at The Secret and you look at the teaching of the law of assumption, of assuming the end state, but it's in enjoying the feeling of it already being so much becomes to the point where you're not even attached to the end result. So when you ask, it is given. The vibrational equivalent of what you've asked for, what you've prayed for. You ask and you receive, but you give thanks. It's like you ask, you receive, and you give thanks. That's the mental marriage feast that Joseph Murphy spoke about in his book, what was it? How to Make More Money. And he talks about the power of the subconscious mind. Same kind of teachings that were part of the wave of like Napoleon Hill, all of that. But, they were all talking about the law of attraction back early 20th century. And none of this is new. This is all goes back to ancient, Hermetic teachings. Principle, law of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without. So the more that you saturate yourself in the study of these things, the more that you will be engaged in your own consciousness, your own inner work as a mere reflection. Because also what you feast upon mentally is the kind of shows, like by watching this kind of media and by intentionally, filling your feed with people that are uplifting the consciousness of the planet, like now you're tapping into a group field. That's part of my vision with this channel, by the way, as more of you come in, is that I'm going to start to do like release more meditations and start to create group meditations and group challenges where we're all coming together with shared intentions. Because recognizing even, today, now that I'm posting this, it is the lunar eclipse. And I know a lot of us are feeling some really big, like there's been something really big brewing energetically. I felt it in myself and definitely can see people, like we're feeling it in this collective field. like this collective consciousness, collective energy, that something big is happening, some kind of big energy, some kind of big shift is going on. And recently I've been feeling like just some like really dense, really heavy energies and like shadows and inner child stuff coming up for integration and healing. And that's powerful to be able to allow that to come up into the light of our awareness. Because I'm not a big fan of just focus on the positive. Focusing on the positive and pivoting your consciousness is great. I love the teachings of Abraham. A law of attraction is great. I don't find it personally for me to be a complete teaching for my path, because I like going into the deeper workings of the subconscious, the unconscious, the shadow, hermetic alchemy. Like, I'm into all that stuff. So personally for me, I like have had many different teachers, because it's like I don't find that just one has all the answers. So part of my role is that I'm like a bridge and I just connect the dots, you know. And this time of, I've been feeling this like heavy energy this dense energy has been transmuting, and then like with it is coming more and more like a steady awareness that I'm living in a dream, that this whole thing is a dream. And I'm starting to get to that point of like, really, I've been practicing, you know, like Neville Goddard's technique of law of assumption. One of the techniques that he gives is, as you're falling asleep, you know, falling asleep in the state like that you want to be in. You know, feeling it as if it's already happening, going into your subconscious lover. And I've actually been having dreams of meeting my subconscious lover, like literally like in my dreams meeting with a lover, and it's like she is my subconscious, and it's like we're co-creating, and I've been having these just really strange, really powerful dreams, remembering more of my dreams. And so another information that downloaded today is that the night before the eclipse, because I'm recording this actually the day before, but I'm going to publish it in the morning. The day of the eclipse and the day after, this 3-day gate, there's power in threes, and it has to do with gestation. The moon is typically associated with the unconscious, collective unconscious, affects the tides of the planet, affects the water in our bodies. We're made mostly of water. You know, water also affects our emotions. Lemonade. And, you know, I made a previous video, I was talking about going into the cave of the unconscious, you know, but what was really interesting is that in Hermetic wisdom, they call the feminine soul aspect, the anima, Sophia. So like Sophia, God, you know, Sophia is the womb of creation, is the divine feminine aspect. And that is also the womb of creation. And it's understanding that our subconscious mind is like a garden, right? So that fertility, that's like the receptive feminine aspect, and then the planting of that seed, the intentionality, you know, is the masculine. But the masculine also acts as like a guard at the gate. It's like your conscious awareness, yes, you can say it's only responsible for like a small part of what you're manifesting, but when you become the guard at the gate, you're also aware of like what you're allowing in. So that's why I was saying, like, your conscious mind actually can act as a filter of what you are like, okay, yes, I'm going to let that into my subconscious mind, or what I'm like, no, I'm not going to let that in. I'm not going to allow that to influence me on a deeper level. Because that's what I'm saying with you're feasting mentally, like with whatever your attitudes are, what you believe, what you think, you believe, you become. What you identify with. Because we're spiritual beings having a human experience. You know, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my body, I'm not my name. I have a name. So like remembering remembering that at this time. Because when we become the witness, we stop reacting. When we're not in a reactive state, we reclaim our power to be able to respond, because it all starts in your state of consciousness. State of consciousness is what creates. It's what it creates and what it attracts. It changes the reflections we get. So being able to tune that, fine-tune your vibration, hone your discernment. I mean, I like to watch, this silly show about a Korean family that has a convenience store on Netflix. I know it's not the super high vibe, that's it, but it's I'm aware, and I'm okay, well, it's going to have an effect, but it's funny, so I like it. I'm not saying don't do anything that's not super high vibrational. I mean, I meditate every morning, but I'm just saying, being aware of, if you're watching something, or, something, you're seeing something on the news, or, just being aware that all these things have influences. And mostly what people, most people are sleepwalking because they're not paying attention to what they're paying attention to. They don't understand that everything has an influence on their consciousness. So just being mindful of that and being okay, well, what exactly am I going to feast on? And giving yourself more space to actually go within and and feel into your consciousness and go in and do the deeper work and realize that you have magic and you have the power to create your reality. Even just going and creating space to realize that, to start to become more conscious of what's going on inside of ourselves and go deeper and start to use self-inquiry. Ask yourself, journaling even, where is this belief coming from? That said, I wasn't worthy of this, or that told me that what's this emotion that I can only do so much, or that the things that I want might not ever happen. What are those unconscious, subconscious, self-sabotaging beliefs? Why is it when I go to start to do this that I start falling off the horse? Because for me, I had to really look at those things, even to get to this point of making these daily videos and start getting momentum, and now start having people reaching out, want to work with me. I had a long period of time when it was on and off, but I had to really look at those, what's stopping me. And for me, what it was is that I still was caring about what other people thought. So I wasn't fully being able to be authentic or vulnerable, because I was caring about what other people thought. But whether you like me or you don't like me is really none of my business. And to realize that was to help me to free myself, to be you know what, I'm gonna get here and I'm gonna share my gifts and I'm gonna express myself. Because I'd rather be more polarizing. I'd rather you get to actually see me and then really appreciate what I have to offer, or really if you really don't disagree with it, why should I sugarcoat it so you kind of don't like me? I'm you might as well just really not like me. Get out, or leave your negative comment. I don't care. I'd rather polarize than just be placate and just this boring, depolarized, is it okay for me to be here and say this ever? I don't need your permission to say anything, that's the aspect of, when a shadow integration coach that I worked with talked about the part of ourselves that is really considerate and wants to be of service. It's kind of the martyr aspect, the selfless part of us. Just wants to help everyone, uplift the energy of the planet, help the people, do the thing, be of service. And then we've got this other part of ourselves. It's more kind of selfish. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm just doing my art. This is about my art. I'm not going to change my art. I don't care. I love my art. It's just more like that. She called it the selfless martyr and the selfish artist. And that until you reconcile, right? The reconciliation of opposites. That's a polarity, because when those parts are like, they're going, it's like split energy, right? It's dividing your energy, dividing your willpower, creative energy, your passion, your fire. That until those things get to work that out. So it's a whole process of like, basically going in and honoring the part of myself that is selfless, and also going in and honoring the part of myself that is selfish. But another way of working that out is through inner dialogue. Paying attention to your inner dialogue, and go even talk to these parts of yourself. Go in and ask yourself, what is this part? What is a name that you would give to this part of yourself? Like, you can even relate two different polarized parts of yourself that are in conflict. Do a little journaling exercise. Write down each of what their names is, and then write a letter from one of them to the other, and then from the other to the other. Or you can just go in and like kind of visualize, connect with both parts of these selves. Imagine you're sitting at a round table, and I call this inner council reconciliation, and allow these two parts of yourself to each say what they need to say. Have the boundary, basically, like you have like a mediator, and basically, they are both respectfully working out and get to both voice and express, and you can even speak to both of them, And this is ways of like, okay, what is this part of myself? If I too fully express my, like, the selfless part of myself, like, well, if this part of myself just fully unabashedly expresses artistic expression, what if it doesn't end up being of service? The other artistic part of myself is like, well, if you constantly are just giving, like trying to make your expression so that other people can understand it in this bridge way, then you're not fully being authentic. And then they could both hear each other and be like, well, then we could work together and fully artistically, authentically express ourselves while being a bridge and being able to be of service to many people. So like being able to work out those internal conflicts, that's just an example. It's not going to be like 3 statements and you're done. You got to actually really feeling the feelings. I'm just saying that as an example of something that, the Cliff Notes version of something that I've been working through, and being able to look at, where am I self-sabotaging? Where am I hitting the gates and stopping the brakes? Because in law of attraction, you can hear a lot of this, like, just get inspired, tune in, do the vibration. You don't have to do anything to manifest the money. Just sit there, visualize. And that might be true, that you'll just walk on the park and I'm not saying it's not possible that you can't walk in the park and find find a bunch of money in a wad or win the lottery or any of that stuff. But also, you'd have to really be in a place where you're really lined up with that and also not need it. And for people who have a strong sense of purpose and who are like entrepreneurial and creative, want to have a business, they're not just going to wait around. Like, if there's actually a part of you that wants to like step into this new phase of doing your creative business, putting your art out there, starting up an online business, being a spiritual healer, guide, entrepreneur, whatever it is, going into partnership with Kangen or whatever it is that you're wanting to do, or with any company that's doing some kind of conscious product. Like, you want to do conscious business, you want to put your work out there, you want to put yourself out there, you want to grow what you're doing, you want to be living your purpose. Like, would the version of you that's doing that actually just be sitting there not taking the actions? Because is that actually trusting? Or is it leaning into embodying that version of yourself? Because for me, I want to be successful on YouTube. Like, I intend to, and I know I will. So that's why I'm showing up to do the videos every day. Like, how is that going to possibly happen if I wasn't showing up and doing the videos every day? If I wasn't doing that, I wouldn't actually be trusting that that's what's like going to happen, because I wouldn't be embodying that version of myself. So looking at that gap and being like, well, what can I step into? What can I start to create momentum in by taking daily action, and tuning yourself in and saying, I'm going to be inspired to take this action. Not just like, I'm going to tune in and maybe I'll get inspired to take the action and then Maybe you get inspired, but you get the inspiration to do the action, then you don't do the action. Or you get inspired, but it's like you start making excuses. Like, no, like you get to set the expectation. Like you can even do this going to sleep. Like, I am going to get up and meditate and tune myself in, and I'm going to be inspired, and I'm going to then take inspired action. Like you can make that decision. You don't have to leave it at the whim of, well, if I'm inspired, then I'll know. Just decide that you're going to be inspired and do it. Like you can expect that to come your way. You can expect that through assuming that it's going to be true, and you're going to attract based on who you are being. Don't wait for the bells to ring you home to finally do what you came here to do. That's what this space, what this energy is about. It's about stepping into it, leaning into it, and it takes courage to lean into the mystery, to lean into the unknown. But that's where all the potential in the quantum field is at. Is when you lean into, you are becoming a new version of yourself, and that's a process of discovery. Because your worth is inherent. It's not just in these manifestation of these external things and tokens. Those are great, awesome. Have all the millions of dollars. That's awesome. Do it. Great, awesome. But like really, you are the value. Like you are the creation. You are the divine child. Your life, your relationships. Like this is what I'm learning is I value my relationships with other people, with the planet. Like, and spiritual sovereignty and being connected to the divine source and like being healthy and being well and having flow and creativity, divine inspiration, ideas, being of service, like all these things, like having the intention to add value unto others and to be of service, and that I want for you and I want for others what I want for myself, which is freedom, happiness, success, love, connection, expansion, and to then put energy and flow energy towards that, because you get what you give. And that's why that gratitude, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to be gratitude. It's going to be like, I'm going to live gratitude. Because when I take in that breath and I breathe that breath in, I'm giving thanks for that breath of life. Because every breath can be a sacred breath if you know it to be so. Or it can be a normal breath. It's up to you. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning into the channel. Please hit the like if you love it. And leave me a comment. So like, what do you resonate with this in your own practice? And make sure to hit the bell if you want to be notified for the daily videos. Blessings, and see you on the next one.